All right, what is up, my friends? Welcome to the Strixhaven School of Mages set review. We've done so many cards. We've done white, blue, black, red, green. We started off with all the lessons. All the lessons are in their own separate section. If you missed it, go watch it on YouTube because they're all kind of weird. They're not really full magic cards. So that we did Lorehold, we did Prismari, and we did Witherbloom. Now we're doing Silverquill. Silverquill, which I think is probably the best college of all of them so far. And we're going to find out why by looking at all the cards. That's right, look at all the cards. Of course, watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. Watching on Twitch, make sure you follow. Let me know your thoughts. As always, please, if you missed any of this, it's obviously very, very long. I encourage you to watch on YouTube. You can break it up, watch different colors, different times. You do your thing, all right? You do your thing. We're almost 6 hours strong here, and I appreciate y'all sticking with me. Y'all are freaking great. Let's hear it for y'all. I was not making a joke of y'all, I swear. Make a joke out of y'all. Let's go. Silverquill. Starting out with Blot Out the Sky, a.k.a. the card you want to open in Limited. Black, white, X. Create X tapped. That part's really important. 2/1 flying white, black, white tokens. If X is 6 or more, destroy all non-creature, non-land permanents. So for the most part, this is just your Starnheim Unleashed of this set. You just have an insane mana sink, tap 7 mana, make 5 flying tokens, win the game next turn. Important to note, this don't kill creatures, and they come in tapped. So the turn you cast this, you are vulnerable. So that part's a little tough. But the destroy all non-creature, non-land permanent part is less relevant in Limited. Oh, sorry, folks, I'm good. And in Constructed, it's kind of cool. You can kill, whatever, Great Henge and so on and so forth. It's definitely worse than Starnheim Unleashed. Don't get me wrong. Starnheim Unleashed is like, one of the best limited rares in like a while. It's like one of the best. It's the best limited rare in that set, which is unbelievably good. But it's still very, very good. Still a very, very good card here. Even if you just make 2 flyers off this, 4 mana for 2/2 flyers is awesome. That's great. It's a really good card. So super, super good draft card here. Constructed, not as nearly as exciting. Those tokens are kind of okay in Constructed. Killing non-land permanents in Constructed is kind of not super great. But in Limited, top-notch bomb in Limited. Probably why it's Mythic, honestly. It's a super, super good bomb in Limited. Cool art, too. Cool art. Next up, we have Closing Statement. They love the clever names. So this is a 5-mana instant that destroys a creature or planeswalker you don't control. And you put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you do control. A lot of the Prismari theme is put +1/+1 counters on things. However, because it is the closing statement, if you play it during your own end step, not a common time to play things, it only costs 3. So it's Hero's Downfall with upside in your end step. That's still pretty good, It's a little awkward because you can't kill a blocker with this. It's on an instant on their turn. That's certainly pretty awkward, but it can cost you if you wanted to. It can cost more. Constructed, there are probably better options, honestly. We'll see more of those later. Great limited card. Just phenomenal limited card. I mean, even at 5 mana without the closing statement contingency here, kill a creature, put a counter is pretty awesome. So, great, great limited card. Constructed, it could see play. Good against Soaring Thought Thief, sure. Honestly, it's pretty cool. But, yeah, so kind of a cool card. Pretty amusing timing restriction. I think it's the first card to ever give you a benefit for playing in your own end step. But kind of a cool card. Great draft card. Mild constructed possibilities. Up next is the Silverquill. I almost said Orzhov again. I can't help it, folks. It's been so many years of Orzhov. The Silverquill entry into the 4 hybrid rare cycle. This one's not a creature. All the others have been creatures so far. This is an enchantment that says, creature tokens you control get +1/+1. Whenever 1 or more non-token creatures you control dies, you get a 2/1. But it only triggers once. So kind of a really, really weird card. So, on the one hand, you want to make your tokens get +1/+1. So you don't play a token deck. But then you're not going to have any non-token creatures to get a token with. So, it's kind of weird, right? And if you're playing it as like a Grave Pact card, like a value engine for sacrificing creatures, it only triggers once. and then you're not really pumping anything but the things that it makes. So at that point, it's sort of like make a 3/2 flyer when a thing dies, which is like, okay. Is an enchantment. Again, I think that I'm reminding everyone every time. Theros is still legal. Devotion is still legal. So this is Devotion for 4 white or 4 black, Gray Merchant. It's also hard to remove as an enchantment, which is kind of cool too. But yeah, I mean, definitely the fact that this is limited to only 1 trigger a turn is pretty damning because you can't really go off with it. But even so, like if your things die and you get a 3/2 flyer every turn, it is pretty good. So it's kind of a cool card. It's probably not good enough for constructed unless you're abusing the devotion maybe or something like that. But it's just like you're not really getting enough off of this, I don't think. So it's kind of just okay. In limited, it's great. You can play this in your Witherbloom deck for all your stupid tokens. If you play this in limited, you can kind of just forget the token part and just think of it as making 3/2 flyers. It's pretty good too. So fine draft card, constructed maybe possible card, but kind of a cool one. A little weird for sure. Up next is Exhilarating Elocation. I don't even know. I have a degree in English, so you know it's right over there. I have a degree in English. It's right on the wall over there. But put 2 +1 counters on target creature you control. Other creatures you control can +1/+1 on the turn. So kind of a cool draft curve topper. Definitely there's a lot of +1/+1 synergy in Silverquill, and obviously it's a sorcery. At an instant, this card would be insane. As a sorcery, this is a curve topper. This is like your heroic reinforcements. Pump this thing up, pump the rest up, attack, make some moves. It's all right. It's fine. Not a card every deck's gonna want. This is a card you get late and it goes into your synergy deck. There's a lot of gold commons in this set that are very specifically only good in your particular college archetype. So you can get them really, really late, which is good. And this is one of those cards for sure. So you can also get blown out too. You cast this and they kill the creature in response. It's an actual blowout because it only has 1 target. But it's okay. You know, not super great. Limited kind of like fillery card. Up next is Extus, Auric Overlord. Black is a flip card here. It's actually a Mardu card, but we're putting it into the Orzhov section. Black 1 white for a 2/4 double strike. Sure. Has Magecraft. If you cast an instant or sorcery card, return target non-legendary creature from your graveyard to your hand. So really weird. So you need to have the double strike body is relevant if you're pumping it, but it also wants you to play instant sorceries and then also play creatures. So a lot of things need to happen for this card to actually do anything on the front side. You need to have a creature already in your graveyard. It needs to not be a legend. Now you got to cast an instant or sorcery to get it back. It's just a 2/4 double striker anyways. Just like not a constructed card for sure. Commander, sure. Great limited card, because frankly, just a 2/4 double strike for 4 is great and limited. But in constructed, not super exciting. You know, you don't want and if you're planning on like pumping this for like to abuse double strike, it's just hard to cast. The 4-drop, just not super exciting. The backside is pretty cool though. Awaken the Blood Avatar. So Rakdos, 8 mana sorcery. Additional cost to cast a spell. You can sacrifice any number of creatures, and it costs 2 less for each thing you sacrifice. So you sack 3 creatures here. This is a 2 mana spell, which is pretty awesome. Each opponent sacrifices a creature. You make a 3/6 black and red avatar token with haste, and whenever it attacks, your opponent takes 3. That closes the gap pretty quick. That is a pretty fast clock. Attacks for 6 haste damage, gets through blockers. It just depends on what you're sacrificing here, right? So if we're sacking some really foddery creatures that don't matter, that's great. You know, we're sacking like pests or whatever. But again, it's kind of just like, it's all right. You know, if they deal with the token by bouncing it or killing it, they have, you know, are they sacrificing a good creature or a crappy creature? Again, probably not a constructed card. Again, for commander multiplayer games, each opponent sacrifices, which is pretty cool. and it also does 3 to each opponent, which is also cool. But for the most part, this is a commander card, bomb limited card for sure, because just casting this for 6 is totally fine. But yeah, definitely not the most exciting card for constructed. It's cute, but up next we have Fracture. This card is actually pretty awesome. Black-white instant. It's a disenchant that also kills planeswalkers. One of the cheapest planeswalker removal spells ever printed. 2 mana to kill planeswalkers, awesome. It's funny actually because the planeswalkers in the last few sets have been pretty bad because they've really turned the dial down a lot since War of a Spark. So this effect is like less necessary now than it was, but still a really, really solid sideboard card here. Obviously, disenchant is a good sideboard effect to have anyway, and killing a planeswalker brings it to a point where, like, there are metagames this could see main deck play. Like, if the entire format was Jund Food, like Teferi Control, Great Henge decks, and Embercleave decks per se. That's not actually what it actually is. A card like this could see play because it does everything else, you know? So, flexible card, great sideboard card. This will see play in all formats, honestly. It gets even better in older formats when it kills Oko and like actual good planeswalkers. So, real good card, real good sideboard card. Gonna see play in every format. Just like sideboard card of the year, you know? If there's a side, 6 man of the year, this is sideboard card of the year. So Fracture, definitely a cool card. In limited, what are you gonna do? You know, sideboard and disenchant once in a while, sure. But let's keep going. Up next is Humiliate. That hurts my feelings. Good card here. 2 mana, Thoughtseize. And you also get to put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control. So, play a 1-drop, then play your Thoughtseize effect, and put a counter on it. It's pretty awesome. Again, there are synergies for counters in Silverquill. This is pretty good. Castigate saw a lot of play when it was legal in the old set. Agonizing Remorse. While 2 mana Thoughtseizes are obviously worse than 1 mana Thoughtseizes, they're still fine. You know, so format depending. Thought Erasure saw a lot of play. So the upside here is similar to Thought Erasure if you're playing creatures, of course. A lot of pressure to have a 1-drop though. A lot of pressure to have a 1-drop. Oh, what's that? No comeback. But yeah, definitely very, very solid card. This card's very playable in Standard. Very playable in Standard for sure. Beyond that, probably not. But very playable in Standard. Fine draft card. It's solid. If it exiled, it'd be a lot better. But very, very solid card for sure. Up next is Killian, Ink Duelist. This card is solid. I love Lifelink. All right? I think Lifelink's one of the more underrated mechanics because of how tempo-oriented Magic's gotten in the last, 5-10 years. Black-white for a 2/2 menace, Lifelink, which is already great. And spells that target a creature cost 2 less to cast. So, kind of a cool card. What is there, to do that with? I mean, I don't know. You can, target your own stuff. Say you have a kill spell that costs a black and 2. Now it costs 1 black total. Kind of cool. I mean, this is the kind of card where it's, not super exciting. Obviously, an important part of this is there's so much +1/+1 synergy in this set that you put a counter or 2 on this, and now you have a 4/4 lifelink menace. That's pretty awesome. So, definitely the kind of card's more than some of its parts. 2 mana of Veracity Contempt, sure. If a card Utter End was legal, things like that. Kind of cool with auras, sure. Runeforge Champion. That is true. Runeforge Champion and runes will be free to cast targeting this because Runeforge makes it cost 0, and this makes it cost 2 less than 0. So it's free. Pretty cool for aura decks. Pretty sweet. Just a cool card. It's cheap. It's efficient. It does things reasonably well. It's not busted or anything. Just a super solid card. I like it a lot. And limited, phenomenal card. Phenomenal. A 2/2 lifelink menace for 2 would already be great in limited. And this has a little bit of upside on that as well, which is pretty great. So, super awesome. A creature is not a creature in the graveyard. Then it'll be a creature card. So, no. If you have a Zombify effect, that will not work on this, I'm pretty sure. And, yeah, let's keep going. Owlin Shield Mage is next. 5 mana for a 3/3 flyer. Ward 3 life. So ward again is the ability that counters a effect that targets a spell or ability an opponent controls. On the blue cards, the ward is an extra mana cost. So pay 2 mana. On the not Orzhov. On the Silverquill cards, it's often pay 3 life. So just a decent limited flyer. Again, not a great limited card. We've gone past the days of a 3/3 flyer for 5 being particularly great, but it's fine. You know, pretty cool effect. It's just fine. Just fine. Solid draft card. Definitely a card you're not always going to play, but you're not unhappy if you do play it. Up next is Rise of Extus. 6 mana sorcery. Exile a creature. Exile the 1 target instant sorcery card from a graveyard. And learn. So card advantage here. Very expensive removal spell. It's a sorcery. It's very clunky. But again, the learn mechanic is card advantage, which is great. We already went over our lessons. Not every deck wants this card in limited. But if you're playing a slower, grindy card advantage deck, this card's pretty good. 6 mana, draw card, kill creature is pretty good. Exiling is good. Occasionally you can exile some relevant things. Not every draft deck wants this card. But if you're a slower draft deck and you're looking for some top end, you could do a lot worse than this for sure. And obviously, as you're, the better lessons you have, the better this is going to be. So up next is Selfless Glyph Weaver. 3 mana for a 2/3. Sacrifice it to Selfless Spirit. So sack all your things are indestructible. Front side, not great. Front side is not great. Selfless Spirit's a 2/1 flyer for 2. That's a good rate. It's also a Spirit. This is a 2/3 for 3 ground creature with no evasion. Yeah, I mean, if they play a Wrath of God, you can save your team. But yeah, it doesn't stop Ugin. Doesn't stop -X/-X's. Doesn't stop Shadow's Verdict. Doesn't really do much. Doesn't really do much here. So pretty mopey front side. The back side is Deadly Vanity. Black, and 5. A lot of mana. Choose a creature or planeswalker, then destroy all other creatures or planeswalkers. So obviously you can use them together, which is pretty cute, but that's a pretty powerful effect, but it does cost 8 mana. It's just a lot. It's just a lot. In limited, yeah, let's go. In limited, we have a card we can play on the front side and a game-winning spell on the back side. That's pretty cool, but 8 mana is a lot. 8 mana is a lot. It just doesn't really... The cards don't synergize very well. Not really a constructed card. If there's some deck that makes a bunch of black mana and just wants a Plague Wind, the backside is certainly playable. But for the most part, not super exciting. Fine draft card. Not really for constructed. It is what it is. Up next is Shadewing Laureate. This is the color hybrid. Uncommon. 2/2 flyer for 3. Whenever a creature you control with flying dies, you put a counter on a creature you control. Just an okay draft card. Nothing crazy. 2/2 flyer for 3 is a fine floor. And then, there's not really much like flying synergy in Silverquill, but it's like a fine card. It's a fine draft card. Shadrix's Silverquill. This is the Silverquill Dragon. Elder Dragon. 5 mana for a 2/5 flying double strike. Stat line's actually pretty good. 5 is a good amount of toughness. It lives through most things. It basically has 4 power, which is fine. So it's a 4/5 flyer for 5, which is already kind of fine. Beginning combat on your turn. Choose 2. Each mode must target a different, or you may choose 2. Each mode must target a different player. So, target player makes a flyer. Target player draws a card, loses 1 life. Target player puts a counter on each creature they control. So, if your opponent has no creatures, that's an easy one, right? You can draw cards. This also triggers before combat. So, main phase 1, you play this and then trigger it immediately. So, that's really good also. So, you can play it. Unlike most of the dragons, it's an immediate effect on the board the turn you play it, which is awesome. You can make your opponent lose life, which is kind of cool. It's definitely weird. This is definitely not the worst dragon of a cycle. If you're looking at constructed play, this card is one of the better ones, I think, because it costs 5. The 7-drop dragons aren't seeing much play. This card is much better than it looks, and you're all definitely underrating it. Is it great? It's weird. Little here and there kind of stuff, but obviously very fun in multiplayer. I choose you to do this, and I choose that, and don't attack me, and blah, 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 blah. But for constructed, probably not playable constructed, but I think it's definitely reasonable. If the body lines up well, it's certainly reasonable. Again, 5 toughness, double strike's pretty good. You can pump your team, which is kind of cool. Like, say you have a bunch of stuff in play, right? And you play this, immediately pump the team, and make them lose life and draw a card. and they already have 5 cards in their hand. You know, like an attack with the squad. That's pretty good too. So this card does a lot. This kind of card you got to play with it, but I think this card's pretty solid. Will it see play? Probably not, but maybe. Maybe. Up next is, oh, then limited is a total bomb. Obviously, an insane nutso bomb and limited for sure. Not even close. Doesn't even need to be said, honestly. Shale, Dean of Radiance is our next card. It is a flip card. 2 mana for a 1/1. Flying Vigilance. It can tap to add a +1/+1 counter to each creature at the end of the battlefield under your control this turn. Solid card, honestly. It's not great. You know, in Constructed, it just dies to Stomp. It dies to everything. You sneeze and it dies. But play it on 2. Turn 3, you play a creature and give it a counter if you're to attack. And play it in turn 4, you do it again. Great with token makers. If we have some sort of like token strategy, super solid card. It's a fine card. It's not great. It's not amazing, but it's cool. It's a cool, solid card. Just solid. Just fine front side. Not amazing. Insane and limited. Great draft card. Constructed, it's tough, but then we have the backside is Ambrose, Dean of Shadow. 4 mana for a 4/4. It's already fine. Tap to put a counter on another creature, and then this card deals 2 damage to that creature. So essentially, this is a pinger, because you can ping your opponent's things for 1 damage by putting a counter on it and then dealing 2 damage to it. You can also pump your own things that have at least 2 toughness, which is kind of okay. Then, whenever a creature you control with a counter on it dies, you draw a card. That's a pretty good line too. So if there's some sort of counter deck in Standard, just playing this card on turn 4 and attacking with all your creatures is pretty solid. This card's pretty good. This card's pretty good. The fact it's also a 2-drop is pretty sweet too. You can kill your own stuff. This card's sweet. I like this card, honestly. The front side isn't bad. You can play 4 of it because you can go this on 2 and then this on 4. And then the backside here is just pretty good. The backside is just pretty good here. And then you can Death Touch Ruin. This would be pretty cool. But solid card. Again, I think the big draw here is playing this on turn 4 and having 2 or 3 things in play that already have +1/+1 counters and then attacking into their board with them. So all their trades suck. Like, that's the big draw of this card. So it does actually affect the board in that way. The turn it comes into play. So kind of cool. If there's a counter synergy deck, maybe, maybe it can see play constructed. I'd say they're outside shots, but maybe for sure. And in limited, total bomb. Total bomb. Either side's very, very good in limited, which is pretty sweet. Up next, we have the Silverquill Apprentice. Again, 2/2 for 2. Magecraft. Target creature gets +1/+0. It's okay. I mean, isn't there a common that does this too? Oh, it's any creature. Sorry, so it's any creature, not just the creature itself. But pretty unassuming, honestly. It's never bad and limited. Just a bear with upside, but not very exciting. Unplayable constructed. Just fine. Silverquill Command. 4 mana sorcery. Choose 2. Target creature gets +3/+3 against flying on the turn. So a little Elspeth jump. Return target creature card mana value 2 in the graveyard to the battlefield. Target player draws a card and loses 1 life. Target opponent sacks a creature. So the Silverquill Command is okay. Obviously, as a curve topper, if we're gonna jump a creature, give it flying, make them sack a creature, it's all right. If we're gonna draw a card, return a creature, it's okay. Sorcery here is pretty damning. If you could end step, reanimate, draw, be kind of cool, or instant speed sacrifice, would be kind of cool. But the options here are kind of eh. It is pretty cool with the legend, because you can target the legend and make this cost only 2 mana, and then make them edict, which is kind of cool. But realistically, not super pumped about this one. It's just all right. What's up, Snook? I said Elspeth jump. All right. That's old school enough, Snook. Boomer. All right. So yeah, it's okay. Great limited card for sure. Obviously, any command's great and limited, but for the most part, probably not going to see play constructed. The difference here between sorcery and instant is apparent because the Lorehold command is so good at instant, and this one's just kind of at sorcery. So great draft card. Okay constructed card. Probably won't see much play, if any. Silverquill Pledge Mage is our hybrid card here. Very solid draft common. Very easy to cast. Flying and Lifelink are both awesome. So solid draft card. Solid curve filler. I imagine you're playing this card most of the time in your Silverquill decks, unless you're really, really creature heavy. Next up is Silverquill Silencer. 3/2 for 2. Comes into play. Choose a non-land card name. Whenever they cast that card, you draw a card and they lose 3. Cool card, honestly. Pretty cool card. A 3/2 for 2 is already pretty reasonable. It's a human. It's a cleric. Not as good as Meddling Mage because, frankly, you want to stop your opponent from playing things. And, like, you name Primeval Titan and they cast it and you draw a card and then lose the game. A different card than Meddling Mage. More playable in, like, more fair formats. A 3/2 for 2 is also just kind of fine. It's fine in draft. A 3/2 for 2 is fine in draft also. And you can just name a common, and if they have it, then you draw a card, which is awesome. So, reasonable card. Not really a world breaker here, but solid card. Solid card for sure. Pretty reasonable. Pretty reasonable. It's a fine card. Spiteful. I almost said Spitfire. It's not even close to Spitfire. I'm talking about Spiteful Squad. Formatted for a common Death Toucher. Comes into play with 2 counters on it, and then it has the modular ability as well, like the 1-drop. Fine common card here. Again, this is the kind of card you table. If you're Silverquill and no one else is, give this card late, play it late, and it's just an okay draft card. Synergy card, etc., etc. Uh-oh. Not even close. Not even close, best in show. Vanishing Verse is unbelievably good. 2-mana instant, exile target monocolored permanent. It's not even close. This card is going to affect every format. Cards really, really... Cards really, really good. Exiling is huge. Instant speed is huge. 2 mana is huge. This exiles Jace the Mind Sculptor, Embercleave. This exiles, just cards across all formats. Really, really, really good. It is important to note that this is going to be a little worse in Standard because there's a lot of good gold cards in Standard, but this kills Lovestruck Beast, Embercleave. Can't kill Ugin, sure, but very, very solid card. Probably not a 4 of, honestly, but super, super, super card. Chat says, you just like it because there aren't that many words on it. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. So, kills Great Henge. There's a lot of cards in Standard, like Embercleave and Great Henge in particular, but are just like really, really powerful. Hard to remove. This card just does it while also killing creatures too. Better, worse than Path. Than Path to Exile? Different card. Different card. This is more of like a good Assassin's Trophy. Exiles Heliod. Just super, super good card. I don't explain why it's good. It's just a super, super good card. So great card in all formats. And then in older formats too. Modern, Legacy. It's great. It's a really, really good card. In Limited, obviously it's a great card. Gonna be a little worse in Limited because there are a lot of multicolored cards, obviously. So not gonna be insane in Limited. But still very good. Still very good. Honestly, like the format of Black Common Rule Spell might be better against this. But yeah, there you go. Best in show. Pretty easy. That's it. That's the last card for Silverquill. So Silverquill, we're all done. Let me know if I'm right or wrong here. My best in show. YouTube folks, like, comment, subscribe. We got Quandrix is next. And I love you, YouTube. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Y'all great. Y'all great.